Hey, what's up, everybody? Bdf coming at you with another video. All right, so getting out, do the same routine if I can. I don't know if I'm gonna be filling up my backpack as much since I don't have as much to fill up, but the intention is to continue on the path of building conditioning and, of course, making content as I walk. And so this is gonna be, if everything goes the way I have it planned, a run-of-the-mill process here, and we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, man, I feel good. I feel pretty good. My body is well rested. Yesterday, I of course had Bible study with the family. It was a good day for that, and did some good art. That's the thing about it. So the Wi-Fi's been out for the weekend. They just turned it back on right now. But because the Wi-Fi was out, I had to use the other phone, not the newer phone, to take pictures. And of course, the back panel of that phone has been missing for a while, and since that process has been in place, I haven't had to take pictures with it nor clean the lenses. So the pictures that I took for my art in my last playlist were very blurry because of that. So I'm probably just gonna have to take some time tonight and just take those pictures all over again and repost everything. But I made a playlist yesterday, the K-List 415. I thought it came out pretty good. Just some hip-hop type stuff, some stuff I hadn't really been dealing with too much. I found some good music to kind of throw on there, so it was really one of those things where if I want to listen to that, it's there. It's that type of playlist. It's not really for everyday music. It's not an everyday playlist, but I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, and I made good art to it. So yeah, that's what I can say. It sucked for this to be the week in that I didn't have my camera, because the art that I made was so good and the pictures that I took of it were so bad. So that was kind of like a thing, but not really. But I felt rather motivated last night to do the playlist and then the art stuff all in one day. And you know, it was a good day. I rested some, slept a little bit. Saturday was especially smooth for me. Of course, I made content, you guys saw it, but that was a very smooth day as it pertains to everything I wanted to do, got done the right way. No trouble, no issues, and I was really thankful for that. Some days are more especially smooth than others, especially in the situation I'm in. So Saturday I thought was really good as far as just the sequence of wanting things to go without any stress or any strain. I thought everything, my body reacted well. I was able to pay off the room, laundry went smooth. All of the exercise stuff I wanted to do, getting out on time, coming back, whatever, all of it was good. So that really helped just kind of make this a very good weekend for myself. But yeah, man, that's really it, man. This is the final week of the contract for this room. I can't say I'm gonna be too upset to see this one go, even though I very much appreciated having an air conditioning after 3 weeks of not having it during that heat wave. And Lord knows what's next. Right? But the shower situation, as I was telling you about, not pleasant, not very pleasant. Having water soaked up to your ankles. It has forced me to clean the tub. As I was telling you guys, that's not something I enjoy doing. But it, you know, with that being as it is, you got to clean that tub regularly, very regularly. So that's what I've been doing, is keeping it clean, and that has kind of been something that I've worked into to my routine. So it's been better for me after all in that regard. So yeah, man, it's a hot day. It's about 87 degrees, about to get up to about 92. It was strange because Saturday, I think it was Saturday, it was only 80 degrees, but it was the hottest 80 degrees I had ever felt. Wasn't no wind chill. It was just soaking heat. And so today actually feels about the same as that, even though it's about 7-8 degrees hotter right now. So I don't know. I think it's good for me overall, though, to get out here and soak up the conditioning in above average heat, because that's what's coming our way as we approach summer very soon. So I'm very pleased with everything that's going on as it pertains to paying attention to this draft. I know we're like 9 days away, so my mock draft will be coming very soon, but I'm happy I didn't do it already, because it was a big trade yesterday. They kind of shifted one of the main picks from one team to another. So this is another reason why I kind of want to wait until the last minute to do the mock draft, because there could still be more trades coming that shift picks around that would make my mock obsolete. So that's what I've learned over the years, is you kind of want to wait till the final week, even though a lot of draft day trades could take place that could still shake things around and make your mock draft obsolete. You don't want to do it like I did it several years ago, well before certain trades took place to change the landscape of everything. And so that is what I think could still be more of leading up to the final days. So with 9 days left, I still got more homework to do. I'd be lying if I said I was where I wanted to be as it pertains to having the opinions of all the most important prospects in that first round. A lot of the guys in the second round I was doing homework on went back to school, so that kind of wasted the time. You know, it's kind of a time waster doing homework on some of them dudes. So it is what it is. But you know, I think I got a okay understanding of most of the people that are there, and by the end of this week, I expect to have it all straightened out. So I took a week and a half of not really focusing in on that last couple of weeks, and over the last 2 days, I started zeroing back in on that project for myself. So that's kind of what I've been paying attention to a little bit of this morning, and then last night as well. So, you know, that's kind of how my weekend has been, all of those things. And I also have been paying a little more attention to what's going on in the Palestinian situation and the Israeli situation, and the Iranian situation. And Iran's very much part of this, because they are attacking Israel in response to Israel attacking them, and it's a lot of commentary around that. It's a lot of people on the pro-Palestinian side that are really happy to see Israel face just a small taste of what Palestine has been going through. And you see the hypocrisy. Now all of a sudden people are growing empathy for Israel, and you see the propaganda machine out there telling us that, oh, it's just so horrible how Iran is bombing, and it's like they never bombed anybody or whatever. I don't know, man. I just look at that and I say, this is more of the same. Nothing surprising there. More of the same. And you know, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think I take as much happiness in seeing the bombings in Israel. I don't. But I definitely understand people who do, when you've been watching what we've been watching. But I just, you know, as I've meditated, I told you guys over the last month, the Lord has given me pretty strict instructions about how to approach an enemy as it pertains to the Lord. And the Lord essentially, as I said, you know, ask for instructions for yourself and your enemies. Don't ask for destruction upon your enemy because it may fall upon yourself. And so in my understanding of self-love and discovery of who I am proud of myself becoming and having loved ones on this earth, I don't know what the Lord's wrath looks like when he decides to strike my enemies. And in some cases, you don't know who your enemies are. You don't know how close they are to you in some cases. So when you ask the Lord to strike your enemies or to bring destruction upon your enemies, if your enemies are right next to you, you're probably going to get hit by whatever's coming their way. And so the Lord said, just bring forth instructions. Ask for instruction rather than destruction. And so that's kind of how I approach what it is I'm seeing. It's not that I'm telling the Lord, please stop your destruction upon the enemies. It's just that I know better than to request that. I know better than to sit back and just like enjoy it so very much, because that's the mistake that the enemy is making over there in that situation, particularly with them celebrating the slaughtering of Palestinian people and taking ferry boats to watch the destruction of Gaza. Some of the Israelis are doing a lot of stuff in the name of celebrating the destruction of these people, and they welcome destruction upon themselves, as we understand. So needless to say, it makes all the sense in the world to not mock those who are making deliberate mistakes, especially when the Lord has made it very clear that it is a mistake. I'm praying for instructions. Guide me, because you know what's coming my way, and I don't want to be welcoming the wrong things in my life. I don't want to be celebrated for the suffering that I go through or that my loved ones are going through. And I don't want to be as sensitive as to say that if I am experiencing people celebrating my suffering, that I would succumb to it, or that I would lose my mind or break in that process. You know, these are the type of karmas that we welcome. And a lot of times when we celebrate the destruction of others, and when the time comes for you to feel whatever is coming your way, suddenly all of a sudden you got people clapping and celebrating and dancing around, praying on your downfall and all different types of stuff that if it's coming, you don't want to be broken by that spiritually, and you don't want to welcome it just the same. So, you know, people gonna do what they do. In a lot of cases, your enemy may be celebrating you as the Palestinians are going through. But if you want to remain above the enemy morally and in the eyes of God, you don't allow the enemy to have that type of power over you as to be so pleased with his destruction, or so adamant about the Lord praying for his destruction. That's power you're giving the enemy. He don't deserve it. It's too much respect paid. So that's kind of how I look at that, man. It ain't easy taking the high road, but the road less traveled is likely the one most fruitful. And that is something we should keep in mind when trying to decide what our position should be on such things. In my humble opinion, it's very difficult because the enemy is constantly trying to provoke us, as we've talked about very recently, trying to provoke us into slinging the dog crap that he's throwing around and mucking around in the hell that he's from and will return to for an eternity. You know, it speaks to the understanding of that very thing. And that devilish entity is mucking around in hell because that is what he's gonna be experiencing the rest of his eternity. That's where he's gonna be most comfortable, or rather gonna spend most of his time. He ain't gonna be comfortable there, but he know that's where his home will be. So digging down into those spaces from which to throw devilish things at good people is ultimately all he's gonna have left, because he certainly can't reach toward the Lord and grab something from heaven and launch it at you. That's not within his power. And that's what I've come to understand after making the videos that I made. It's like, yo, when you're digging around the dirt with the enemy, if you're a person of God, that's not territory you're meant to be in. If for no other reason, we need to look at it from a spiritual standpoint to say that. The devil's gonna always be in hell, so he ain't gonna have no problem reaching to the bottom of the earth, to the depths of hell, and try to drag us down there with him, and then furthermore try to coerce us into deserving the eternity that he has, because that's his purpose, is to have us share his eternity in hell, to have us too suffer so it doesn't hurt as bad that he suffered. Not that what we eat makes him poo, but you can't tell a devilish entity that you hurting ain't something that they should want in the presence of them being damned. So when we see Israel, specifically the devilish entity that is Israel, attacking children, trying to provoke us into attacking children, mucking around in lies, you know, trying to smear us to be what it is that they are proving themselves to be with their actions, using what they control, the other devilish entities compromised, like the media and our governments, using what it is that they control, energy from hell, their comfort zone, so to speak, to launch at us and attack us. What we must understand is that we can do that same thing in an opposite way. We can reach toward the heavens and find weapons that are effective. Taking the high road is your weapon. Being better than the enemy is your weapon. Having your faith intact and having your good reputation intact in the presence of lies is your best weapon. Because at the end of the day, while Israel was lying about the Islamic people, saying that they're terrorists, all you got to do is turn toward the people that I've been paying attention to that represent the Islamic people and the Palestinian people and the Arabic people, And you will see what it is that they are being proven in the integrity that they display. You can tell me a bunch of lies about somebody, but when I turn my head toward them and they're behaving as the opposite of what you say, I'm going to believe my eyes. And so while Israelis are saying they're the victims and then they dancing and celebrating the slaughtering of children, I turn toward Arabic people and they're showing a display of solidarity and peace, for which I respect. It doesn't really matter what you say about the Arabic people, because when I turn my attention to them, they show me who they really are. Just like it don't matter what you say about the Israeli people, because when I turn my attention to them, they show me who they really are. And what the enemy wants to do is make it so that when I turn my attention to the people they're smearing, they're behaving the way that they said that they would behave. But as long as we continue to take the high road and reach into the heavens for our weapons and for our shields, we will always prove ourselves to be the opposite of what it is that people are lying and saying that we are. It's when we start mucking around in uncharted territory, the enemy's territory, the devil's territory, that we ultimately find ourselves behaving not like ourselves. And that is exactly what the enemy needs us to do, is to be down there and dwell in the spaces that ultimately he's forced to be in, deserving to be in forever. And so as I meditated on that, I said, well, I don't know if that protects me from the enemy's intentions upon my children. If he's reaching down into the spaces for which I would never go because of my moral compass, how do I protect against that for which is at risk from him doing so? And the Lord said, vengeance is mine. Vengeance is not necessarily the solution, because that means they would have already successfully handled those things. As to inspire the desire for vengeance, that ain't protecting my seed. That ain't protecting my innocent people. That ain't protecting my reputation, is what I tell the Lord. But I still wonder if it's in the same ballpark, even though it's not vengeance that we refer to. Is to not your protection from these things also his responsibility, his realm, beyond us to begin with, because there is no solution outside of digging down in the spaces we have no business going to, fighting on the devil's intentions in his realm, reaching instead of toward the Lord for our faith and our protection and our solutions to these conundrums, mucking around the enemy's areas from which deserving of the enemy's fate would then fall upon our heads. And furthermore, a validity to the devil's lies about our character. I don't want to bring forth any type of winning to the devil. We are playing a chess game. This ain't checkers. And the last thing you want to do, no matter what the action is play in the enemy's hands. So I don't know that I have the solution. I war with this, as you guys clearly see. You can look at a video I made last week and see that I'm saying that I was struggling with this same thing. But a relationship with God will give you some answers and give you some instructions, and asking for instruction instead of destruction will ultimately bring forth the solutions that need to come to your head to help you fight these type of conundrums, where the enemy's trying to provoke you into being as bad as he is by doing things to you that you would never do to him. And he appears to be a winner in this process because of it, but he is not a winner. He is piling up his own bad karma. He is piling up an antithesis to the lies that he tells about his own merits and his own character. So as people turn their attention to him, they see what it is that he ultimately lies about in regards to himself. He say, I'm a good person. My enemies are doing the things that I'm actually doing. I'm not doing those things. And then when you look at him, you see him doing those things. When you look at who he says who his enemy is, his enemies are the ones he's describing himself to be. He's playing opposites day and hoping you're too stupid to see, while simultaneously provoking his enemy and hoping that they would become what it is that he ultimately is. It's to justify the evil that he does, and furthermore drag his enemy to the same place where he dwells forever, on behest of the enemy, the greater enemy, the devil that he serves. That's what it is. We can't win battles reaching for things that come from the enemy just because the enemy, who's from the hell, reaches the hell for his solutions and for what it is that he ultimately uses to fight us. Can't win that way. There are many ways to win, but winning does not come doing what the enemy wants you to do. Fighting his war his way. You can't win that way. You can definitely lose that way. You can definitely destroy a good reputation that way. You can bring validity to the lies that he tells about you that way, for which is his whole purpose. In the presence of everything that he's trying to do, he's trying to make sure that you end up dwelling where he does and deserve to be there just like he does. And if he could provoke you and act a damn fool in that process, then he'd have a reason to celebrate despite suffering coming his way forevermore. And so we see this, and we ask for some type of solution for what comes of this in the short term, when the short term doesn't tell the truth about who's winning and who's losing. And like, God, they reaching down in hell, and they throwing stuff at me that comes from hell. How do I defend against this but to reach into hell and to throw back what it is that there's there? Lord said, you may appear like you winning that way, just like the enemy appears like he's winning that way, but that don't bring no win towards you. The essence of karma is going to prove that don't win for you in the long run. That's not how you win the game. That's how you become a loser. And just like the enemy appears like he's winning right now, so too will you, doing things the wrong way for a time, look like you're winning. But in the end, you'll lose. Now, mind you, to fight on the devil's war, you don't have to be a friend to the devil. He don't have no friends. He's always deeply separated from anything that would otherwise be in support of him. Every one of his minions hate him. He hates every one of his minions. See, that's the secret about a lot of what's going on there. A lot of the things that the devil keeps together is, as we've talked about many times, put together by leverage, put together by holding people by the balls. Secrets. Trusting that things will be hidden in the minds of those who have them in their heads. And so long as you do what they tell you to do. He ain't got no friends. He just has leverage. He has people who fear him. He has people who have equal desire to see destruction as him. He don't have no real friends. There's no friendly there. There's nothing binding them together if not for the presence of something that's ultimately meant to keep them apart any damn way. Blackmail and stuff like that. They ain't got no friends. So when you see each and every one of the devil's entities standing together on one side, know that none of them can trust one another. Know that at any moment, they can turn their back on one another. Know that the things that keep them aligned with one another is blackmail and a shared self-loathing that they point at other people. A cowardice that they share with one another, not anything that's friendly, not anything that would otherwise bind them for life, not anything that would otherwise keep them in lockstep with one another. The moment the pressure is applied, you start seeing that cowardice come out, and they start snitching on one another. They start turning on one another. They start opening the back door for one another. You don't have no friends. Not on that side. Just a bunch of individuals in agreement to work with one another for the presence of fear and a hope for the destruction of others. No faith, nothing that would make them trust one another. And so anytime you see packs of the enemy's people together in any way, shape, or form doing the devil's work, just know that they're a bunch of individuals. And just like every other entity of the enemy, he wants to separate, divide, and conquer. And the key to understanding why divide and conquer is so important is not just because it's the only way to defeat you, but it's because it's yet another application of him wanting you to suffer the same way that he is. Because he ain't got no real friends despite being surrounded by a bunch of people. He don't have no real devotion despite having so many people swearing, lying to him, and within their best interest to stay in line with what he's doing. The moment it's no longer in their best interest, they don't have no devotion. They turn on one another. The enemy will defeat himself. And believe me, you will turn into him if you do things that he wants you to do. This is chess, not checkers. You will turn into him. That's exactly what he wants you to do. Convert you into what he is. By way of the suffering that he tries to inflict upon you, for which is the Lord's to heal. The Lord will heal that from you. You trust God strong enough and deep enough, That's where your solution is found. As I read in a devotional very recently, it is a waste of time to ask the Lord to bring about no troubles into your life, because the world is always going to have trouble in it. It's an evil world. It's going to have trouble in it. You want to condition yourself to be strong enough to trust God during the most difficult times, to have that relationship with him so strong that you will provide yourself. He will provide you rather the healing necessary to overcome these things. Looking for the easy route is what the devil's ultimately about. Looking for a way around the suffering instead of trying to heal from it head on is partially what it is that he's driven by. And his entities are driven by. It's a desire to make things easier on themselves instead of growing strong enough to handle it. Taking the road most travel is to not feel like an outcast, instead of doing what it is he's supposed to do and standing firm on the goodness. Trusting God that God will make sure that that makes sense in the end. These are the things that the devil's not strong enough to do. None of his energies, friendly enemies, are strong enough to do. So as we watch him appear as if he's winning by doing things a certain way for which he's comfortable doing, because he's going to be in the spaces from which those evil things take place forevermore, we as entities of a higher space of home need to understand where we're going to get what we need to truly be able to thrive in the presence of his face, in the presence of his actions. How do we win? We go to heaven for what it is we need. We don't turn towards sin. And any perceived losses that come from that, we need to turn to God for the true way to view these things. Because those are not real losses, just like him digging down there the dirt, slinging mud at you, ain't real wins. And mind you this, the truth will add up. And the ego is a fickle soul. When met with logic, the ego has to make a decision on whether or not it wants to stand on a lie or line up with the truth and be on the winning side, the true winning side. The devil is always going to be in confusion as to say it makes sense for him to stay away from the Lord and the winning side. But the entities created by God, who are not solely driven by their own exhaustion, can be converted from being a worse person to a better one. Just like the enemy's trying to turn us into being evil, so too are we strong enough to turn some of what is evil into being fair. By the example of us showing what the truth is and making it war with that understanding as it views it in real time. See, every accusation from the enemy is a confession. And so if the enemy is trying his very best to convert you into being like him and into getting you to do things that he needs you to do in order for him to be successful, then you best believe the Lord has given you the strength to be even more powerful in doing the same thing on your end. That's what we often don't understand in this life. That's what they don't tell us. Is that what keeps them together is so fickle, and all they need is a little convincing, a little fine tuning, and all of a sudden logic takes over, and all of a sudden now what was once so hell-bent on being evil is asking for repentance, because the logic, the math is going to add up. If it just pays attention to what it sees, eventually it's going to understand that it's fighting for the winning team, and that there's more devotion over here. The winning side is this over here. God can heal it of all of his weaknesses, heal it of all of his concerns, heal it of all of his confusion that makes it want to be in spaces for which it will burn. All of those different things don't have to be, so long as you are stripped away of all that ego that makes you want to stand out and say, I'm going to fight for the evil team because that's what I want to do. I can't submit. Submit is a strength when you're talking about a living God that gives. To submit to a living God that all he does is give is a good thing, because if you submit to him, he's going to give back more tenfold. Devil don't do that. Devil has leverage. Devil's enticing. Devil's trying to have you in love with doing things that are ultimately going to be to your worsening. And eventually, when the consequences come for that, you start to understand that he was never your friend. You start to understand that it was never a togetherness with anything that he had control over. That it was always destined to fail. So at some point in time, a person who's suffering doesn't want to fail anymore. At some point in time, a person who realizes their own actions bring about a certain negativity that they don't welcome, they don't want that anymore. And eventually they start asking questions. And if you're displaying the reality, the truth of what comes of doing things the right way, they will get their answers through your example. And this is what the devil can't stand. This is what the devil understands, that he don't want to have nothing to do with. He does not want any part of that for which he controls being relinquished to the Heavenly Father by way of the example of how to end suffering within all of the things that the Lord has control over. Showing healing that comes from praying to God and submitting to God. A certain exemption from consequences that are inspired by listening to God tell you that you don't need that certain thing, or that you should discipline against that certain desire, that you should try to humble yourself in the presence of certain things. Things that the devil will never tell you to do, because he wants for you to welcome your own destruction willingly. Things the devil will never tell you to do, because within his confusion he doesn't know any of this as it pertains to himself. The devil above all else is mistaken. That he thinks he should continue engaging in the energies that he has been engaging in, instead of turning away from his ways and finding a way toward winning. He is not correct. And so that's what I'm telling everybody else. In the presence of his ego, in the presence of all the different things he's trying to accomplish, in the presence of being hell-bent, believing he can win this way, no pun intended, he's just simply mistaken. And his ego and that driven evil in him will not allow him to foresee how the path he's on is not the path he would choose. If he could see the end game, it wouldn't be what he'd go for. There's a lot of people out here who don't understand that too. They follow the devil thinking it's cool, man. They don't understand that he's a loser. He's not a winner. He may look like he's up on the score right now, but he's down. He's going to be failing. He's down bad. He may win a battle or two, but any remembrance of him winning any battles will be erased when the Lord comes around to doing what it is that the Lord is intending to do. Those battles won't even be remembered in his own mind that he won them battles, let alone that they matter now. They don't matter. Any little win he think he have, he's not gonna remember none of that. These are the things that God can do. These are the things that God will do. We just got to give God the glory of watching us be our best without the certainty of how things are supposed to go or whatever we think they're going to be. Without the certainty of knowing, just believing. That's what is required for us to be strong enough to endure everything that's coming our way. Because you never know what's unfolding. Nobody has a crystal ball. He didn't give us the understanding of that, of what's coming. So we got to trust something. A lot of us lean into pessimism for comfort. That's mistakenness. A lot of us lean into the idea that nothing good is coming our way, so we might as well be Satanists. That's mistakenness. Devil's a liar. Devil's a loser. The devil's not up on the scorecard. He's going to lose the game. It just appears like he has a win here. He ain't winning nothing. He's celebrating his losses every time you see him dancing around, prancing around, celebrating something he does. Every time he lies about something, that is obviously clear to all of us that is what it is, not what he says, he's a loser. He's embarrassing himself every time he opened his mouth to say anything. And every time he accuses anybody of anything, he's describing himself. Displaying a certain level of self-awareness, but not a wisdom as to apply it to self. So he go around saying that the enemy, his enemies, are what he is. And going around telling everybody that he is what his enemies are, as he does to them what ultimately he complains about. This is the essence of devilishness. Being so is mistaken is to think that you're fooling anybody when doing so. Anybody that isn't aligned with the darkness that you're in, no. You're a loser. You embarrass yourself. And so, I just want to tell people, man, I'm not saying that I'm not struggling with this as a human being, especially in these times. It's easy to struggle with this. I'm from a world, a society where we teach each other, hey man, somebody hit you, hit them back. If somebody does something to you, do it to them twice, or whatever type of thing we do. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at it through a spiritual lens, or win and losing lens, then you understand that that's devilishness that's meant to convert you into being evil. And to forcing you into spaces where you're not asking the Lord to heal you of pain, but rather than to inflict pain on the others for the sake of some healing that ain't really healing at all. It's just a reflection of the pain you're in, and you not knowing how to protect yourself from furthering it into your reality. And so this is what I want people to understand, man. We talk about Israel, they are the very essence of evil. They're always looking to convert the others into being as evil as them, as wicked as them, as horrible as them. And then furthermore, using what they control to lie about others as they do to them, what they hope they can inspire to be done. So putting forth an energy that would otherwise try to predict that you're a certain thing that they're hoping to inspire you to be. Try to say that you're something, and then try to do everything they can to force you to become that. It's the essence of the devil. That's what the devil does. Going around saying everybody who he's trying to do something to is a terrorist. That's what the devil does. Using ideologies that mean for the destruction of innocent lives to justify the preservation of lives who will be willing to do so. And furthermore, only applying empathy to himself in the presence of others who would otherwise have a balance about them as it pertains to the empathy they show. It's not that he has any empathy for himself. He hates himself. He just wants you to see that image that says, look, see, I'm the most important thing in the world. It's not that he thinks he's the most important thing in the world. It's that he wants you to think he's the most important thing in the world. That's to welcome yourself into spaces that would discard of your own importance. This is what he does. This is what they do. They tell everybody that their enemies have military bases in hospitals, and then footage comes out showing they got military bases in hospitals. They say that their enemies are doing horrible sexual things to people. Then it's proven that they, by way of their culture, agree and believe that evil sexual things should be done to people. They say something about beheaded babies, and then you see them proceeding to use bombs to behead babies. Bombs that are specifically engineered so that they would sever limbs from people. Every accusation is a confession. Every provocation is a hopes of converting you to do the same things as he tells everybody that's what you're doing. That is the essence of devilishness. And of course, furtherance the evidence of devilishness is the confusion. The woe is me aspect of it. I'm the victim. They ain't the victim, I'm the victim. As they proceed to do a terrible job of hiding their activities as to further humiliate themselves in the presence of the lies they tell. Further evidence of devilishness. For the devil never covers his back or his tail. Never. He gonna always humiliate himself because he hates himself without actually realizing it to further the effectiveness of doing so. They are the devil's people, and it is proven in all of the energy that they engage in. They deteriorate any credibility by lying about things that are visible, that are evident to all of us. If you're paying attention to what it is I see, you see them humiliating themselves when they open their mouths, get on national television and say any damn thing. Proof against that for which they say is present. And just like many entities that are devilish, they use things that have to do with God or use things that have to do with religion to further the enemy's energy, and are the least aware of it as they do it. And they always take those who are praising God the most and say that they're the ones that are doing the worst. Anything that they ultimately have as an enemy is clearly of integrity and goodness. This is the essence of the devil himself, as clearly represented in the people that he has doing his bidding on this earth. And so, am I a believer that everyone in Israel is evil? No, not everyone anywhere is anything. But the essence of what it is that they are controlling in that space, and the essence of what it is they represent, the devilish DNA is enriched in it in more than enough ways that it will be clear to a person who understands such things. More than enough ways. And so if you apply the parallel understanding of that being the case to what it is that we have learned in the other areas from which you deal with the devil, then you know not to obey him. You know not to be silent in the presence of his activities. You know not as to think that his threats against you for being a truth sayer in the presence of his evil is to be respected or to be adhered to. You know that the Lord has your back in the presence of all the evil that he's threatening to do to you and the things that he's proven he's capable of doing. And you definitely know not to muck down in the dirt that he's throwing at you. You know better than to do that. Because all that's going to do is play into his chessboard. Play into his hand in this evil game that he's playing. You do the opposite of him. And you know that the presence of it looking like you're losing is just as much of a lie as the presence of him looking like he's winning. So that's what I'm telling all of y'all, man. Understand what game you are playing, what game is being played above your heads, and ultimately the mistakes that are being made by people around you who are trying to manage themselves on this chessboard. You stand firm on the understanding that the Holy Spirit, your God, the one that you want to create a relationship with, is going to give you the answers as to how to deal with the presence of looking like you're losing or it appearing as if you're losing when you're not. Because you're not losing, you're winning. When you win these battles against the enemy, you are winning. And that's what I want people to understand, because it's going to always look like we're losing. But we're not when we're doing things the way the Lord wants us to do them. You're winning. You're overcoming weakness within yourself. You're overcoming weakness that you are faced with. And you are properly identifying that weakness as weakness rather than strength. As to be influenced by it, never. That's what I'm telling all of y'all, man. I ain't afraid of nothing the devil trying to do because he's a loser. I ain't afraid of nothing the devil is threatening because he can't fulfill none of it. He's a liar. And if I have a close enough relationship with God, the Lord is going to allow me to step around everything that he's laid out. I'm going to hurdle everything he got in front of me. And that my life as well as my passing is already predetermined. So he don't have no control over that either. Even if he is the vehicle for which is facilitating that passing, I'm not supposed to live a second after the time the Lord has already written for me. So as to say, whatever he's threatening or whatever discomforts that he wants to place in my wake for being strong, they are written for me. And I will be strong enough to deal with them, and I'll be in the best place to affect things the way the Lord intends for me to, for whom I trust. And that trust will allow me to walk in the path that he wants me to walk on, regardless of what is being threatened or what is being proven by the enemy, as to make it appear as if he's winning when he's losing. And so long as I stay on the path chosen for me by the Holy Spirit, I will facilitate my victory and the Lord's victory in my life. And I don't believe I have all the answers. So if I see somebody praying differently than me, if they stand for the same thing I stand for, if they're being attacked by the enemy the same way I am, I understand that they stand with me, and that the Lord will facilitate an understanding between us, though we speak differently and pray different. Bdf 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.